لله الحمد لله أحمده وأستعينه وأستهديه وأستغفره وأؤمن به جل وعلا ولا أكفره وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره المشركون. All praise belongs to Allah. We praise Him, we seek His help, His assistance, and His guidance. We believe in Him and do not disbelieve in Him. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is His servant and messenger. The title of tonight's talk is Strategic Recovery. This strategic recovery that we're talking about right now has a platform. That platform is forgiveness, love, compassion, neighborliness, and all of that excellent stuff. The reason that forgiveness is the best platform to build, or rebuild, or reconstruct the movement on, is that it frees you up from all just imagine some of the people we talk about that we know. We've been knowing them, we've been active with them, and we've been watching them 30, 40 years, so we kind of have an idea about what we're talking about. So when we mention these people, if you have the wrong approach during the different stages that you go through, you could cause yourself a lot of, not trouble, but you could make things harder on yourself. You could bring a lot of baggage along that's unnecessary. That baggage is like, for instance, I was watching on Press TV the other night. One of my friends, he's a big movie maker. He has a big program in Iran. In fact, technically he's the head of the whole communication, whatever it is. We traveled around the country. We went up to Boston. And he got a chance to interview Noam Chomsky, and this was at least, goodness gracious, this was over 25 years ago. We took pictures of people all around here and everything. He said, I want you to show me the real America. I said, good. So I showed him the college campuses, the inspirational type teachers, the Noam Chomskys, and the people that seem to have some direction in their talks and what have you. We visited some of the centers around, and he took his camera with him all the time. He had a good camera. Sometimes he just held it to the side, and sometimes we'd sit in the car and I'd talk to him about, we showed Benning Road, we showed over in Virginia, we showed all of New York. We went around and we looked at the United States. When he went back to Iran, he made a 12-hour program of that. In that program was a lot of predictions too. All the predictions, when he came to the Masjid at least 10 years ago, maybe longer, when he showed his movie on Isa alayhi salam, he said, all the things that you said about America came true already. I said, America wouldn't be brought down from the outside, it would rot from the inside. And all of that. Now they considered that as big hikmah, because nobody had ever talked to them about future projections, and it come out, I mean, almost exactly, word for word. And they recognized it. I technically forgot about it. Not forgot, but I knew that I'd said some things until they re-showed it again. And I said, yeah, I did say all of that. The other thing, I remember in '83, I was riding with one of the brothers. He was sitting right next to me, and this was about '83, and the question was arising about our relationship with Iranians. It was the same old Sunni Shia stuff. And I told him, I said, oh, these guys right now, I said, they're going to go back home, and they're going to be, these guys are going to be big. They've been educated in America. These guys are smart, you know. In fact, when you face a lot of challenges, you get smart. So technically, the Iranian students in those days were way ahead of everybody else. They could figure out all kind of little, you know, they just knew how things was, because they were like us. They're under the gun. So you look at these guys, you would say, well, and I remembered exactly where we was when I told this guy that. And I could imagine the response of his boss when he turned that information in. So they had it on their schedule that no matter what happens, we're going to try to make sure that he don't get to use too much of that influence that he's acquired now. And even when I said it, I said, well, could have said something else, because he's going to tell boss. Don't make no difference. Here's what happened. When we was the Negro outside the other day, all the days we've been out there, we always, for the last decades, actually most of the life, have adopted a different attitude than was expected under the circumstances. When the system turned me out on selling smoke and, you know, stuff like that, they thought when I adopted it, when I got bigger and so-called more important, that life was spoiled. You know, like when you become a big Negro and you bigger than everybody else, you become, let's say, arrogant. You become arrogant. You become, I'm Big Johnny around here. And then the bigger you get, the more it affects you. Now, this affects everybody. You look in Hollywood, you look everywhere, there's a time when that affects them. That affects those people. There's also a time when they either get trapped up by it or they pass through it and they evolve. Very few people get totally out of it, but some evolve, some go through the party life and start running them crazy. Some do like when the bass pipe came out and Natalie Cole's daughter got hooked on the pipe. I don't know. That was maybe quite a while back. Natalie Cole, that might be a little, that was in the 70s. But she got hooked on the pipe, and I mean the original bass pipe, not crack, although they similar. Red Fox and them, our homeboy, the joke man, Richard Pryor. I think he was the most tragic because Red Fox died of old age, and Natalie Cole came back from the brink, you know. But everybody went through changes. White folks go through it. You broke one day and the next few months you rich. And everybody's telling you oil wildcatters, you know, that used to hunt for oil in Oklahoma and Texas. And they extract either oil or out in California they extract gold. They rich overnight and it runs them crazy. Very few of them get a chance to develop a company and it evolves and they are around. Usually they come and they go. That's what the European had in mind personally for me. We'll reroot him from this black nationalism and we'll get into this and that'll take care of it. The only thing, when I got into that, and I'm just getting big pretty soon, I mean, it wasn't a year. Technically, I was bigger than everybody else within a year, easy. I mean, that's within a year, because our people wasn't that big. You know, if you got a Cadillac, and you had a few women and stuff, that was big. That was the glory life, you know what I mean? That was googly-eyed. I mean, people wouldn't imagine how people would see them cars going, ooh, man, look at that drive. It just hit a bump, and it did this. And it was unbelievable. Unbelievable. And the people inside of the cars were like movie stars. Just looking at them through that front window, and they got all up road with the poles, like leaning on the Mac rest, you know, or the armrest. It was just all a bunch of stuff. But it was the style, and it was what's happening. Imagine if you're working in a factory 1 year, and the next year, you're equal with all the big people. Technically, you don't even know it, or you don't care. Then another year, you almost retire for a while. Then you start learning about visualization and all these other laws and guidelines. They had one group of brothers, it was the Ward brothers. They was big, and you see them, they was big in the night game. They was big. Or they would be considered by people as big. Technically, they wasn't that big. This was, you know, they. In fact, the last one died last year. Willie Ward. You remember the Mac? Mm-hmm. There's two of the Ward brothers getting the Mac of the year. Yeah. One was Ted Ward, the other one was Willie Ward. Willie Ward was the youngest one. I didn't realize how young I was in them days till 5 years ago, something like that, we was talking. He said, yeah, come on. I said, man, them some thick glasses. Can you see out of them boys? They was, you know, Coke bottle glasses. They was real technical. I said, man, can you see out of them boys? You know where people just be messing with it. And so he said, yeah, you know, I'm the last one left, and da-da-da-da-da. So I said, how old are you at that time? I was 67, and he was 75 at that time. So he passed away when he was at least 80, 82 something. I said, man, the youngest one is 7 years older than I am. And when you're young, 7 years is a long time. You know, I mean, from 17 to 25. It was a long, you know what I mean? That's a big growth period. Anyway, I'm going to get back to the story. The strategic recovery is about the messages that you pick up from life and how you adjust to them. when the system approached me, they approached me with, we'll introduce him to wealth, power, and everything else, and it'll run him crazy like it do the rest of the Negroes. Or he'll get up real big, then we'll drop him down, and we'll put him in, because they'll be controlling your life. But I didn't do that. I didn't do that. I mean, I had a few months where I was kind of, arrogant and stuff, but that's all it was. A few months. Then I started the East Oakland Enterprises. They thought it would take me away from the movement, right? By getting me involved in that type of lifestyle. But it brought me closer to the movement because now I can do the things that I had in the back of my mind. So I just started helping everybody in town. So a black economic enterprise developed because we reinvested most of what we made, we reinvested in the community. If I had a friend that was a boxer, which I did, I say, man, how much money y'all need to promote your fight? So 2-3 times I'd front them money. They just wasn't into promotion. They just didn't. If they would have been, we'd have just kept on doing it. But they wasn't, you can't blame our people for being where they are because they just didn't experience much. Okay. I'm young too. I'm in my early 20s and I don't know how to tell nobody how to do this, that, and other. I'm not the godfather that's 100 years old and been through all them changes, although they treat me like the godfather. But I'm just a young guy. All these old people coming with marriage problems and economic problems and rent problems, and my kids are acting up, man, what you think I ought to do? I said, man, I'm still kind of like just barely a kid myself, I'm technically 23 years old, and I felt like it too. I remember saying to myself, man, I feel like I'm 54 years old. The weight, the responsibility, you could feel it, especially when you're young. You want to be out there running around with everybody else. You don't want to be Godfather. You just want to be like with everybody else. Y'all, we're running here, we're going to do this. And, So anyway, that same thing that happened in those days is exactly what happened the other day. Looking at the Negroes out there, any sane person would say, man, the brothers is gone. That's our mission. It's been our mission, but it just kicked in again for the 50th time. You can tell that all the stuff I'm saying, I've said it 100 times before, but up on that roof, listening to the brothers, kicked in. That's our mission. That's what our goals should be centered around. Now remember, this is not a new type goal. What do we have? Masjid, school, business, geographical integrity. You look around. Just look around. We produced exactly what we was talking about. Without any big sweat and all that. We just produced, there's a house there, there's a house there, there's a house down the street, nobody wants it. We'll buy it and fix it up. Oh, the church is selling it. As soon as we saw them put the church put the sign out over there, I said, hey, we'll buy that. When they figured out what we was doing, they slowed it down, so for a long time we've been just paying taxes. Because we was acquiring and building, and so they said, we're going to sanction and cut off your progress, you know. And at that time, they could do it. They could do it because that's what they did, right? Yeah, they could do it because that's what they did. But at the same time, we learned so much. And we, just imagine now, we're just a crew around here and we're doing things, but we're as important and influential as anybody in the region. And in our own arena, more so. Sometimes I bring a lot of the pictures we have on stage and with Dar Hidra and with CARE and all those people. Yeah, they were all coming here, they were all doing da-da-da-da. And we had a crew that was just pretending to be what they was. I mean, well, we don't say they was pretending. But anyway, when it got time for them to leave, they just packed up and left. Nobody came by and said, well, man, my wife and kids give me a lot of trouble, so I'm going to spend more time with them, or nothing. That might be what they did. But if they're sitting there with their wife and kids today, if their wife was talking years ago, she's still talking right now. Yep, 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 right? Ain't nobody, they left here, but wherever they went, whatever they do, they got the same thing and maybe more, because if they was working for something, they would be more focused, they would be more disciplined. The point of this opening is that we not bringing no baggage from the past. Forgiveness, kindness liberates you. It liberates you. It takes all the sharp edges off, all the meanness and hatred. And for us here, this is probably at least the fourth go-around on this stuff. The first evolution was probably that Jahiliyyah stuff. The second might have been during the 80s and 90s. That was a period of, but the 80s and 90s was all Islamic. In fact, by 1990, I'd been here over a year. A lot of evolution we went through right here, over there. We could decide, okay,